thanks again for Linode for sponsoring this episode of the news. They've actually upped our affiliate link, so instead of getting 1 month of credit, you now get $60 of credit, which you can make last up to 3 months, I think. Or it's $60 or 60 days, so 2 months, I guess, of credit. So if you use our affiliate link, you can get a little bit more credit and experiment with things. They really want you to mess with that Kubernetes cluster and some of the other services like their Amazon S3 substitute, which is quite competent. You should definitely give that a spin. They've also been writing a lot of how-tos. So like setting up the WireGuard thing, which I think we can improve on. And we will soon improve on because WireGuard. They've got a lot more services today than they did previously. You should really check it out. And in fact, if you're going to do a commercial migration to like Kubernetes from Google Compute Cloud or even some of the Azure Compute services and you're using Kubernetes, come to the Level 1 forum. I'll actually help you do that. So thank you, Linode, and on with the news. It's July 31st. There's literally no more time for anything. It's make your time. I don't know. August is upon us.
Yeah.
It's time for nonsense and security. Social. Nonsense and social.
Social and nonsense. Yes. And the big story continues to be in the social world, the Twitter hack. And it's over, but now we're finding out some details about the internal systems at Twitter. How did this happen? Well, one problem might be the level of access of the Twitter employees. How many employees do you think Twitter has?
10,000.
So 10%?
Seems like a lot.
That's a high number.
Reuters reports that more than 1,000 people at Twitter had the ability to aid hack of accounts. So being able to change the password, that little control panel thing that we had a picture of that may or may not have been fake, we don't know. But it's like I want to take control of Bill Gates's Twitter account. I'm going to click a button, change an email address here, done.
And if it wasn't fake, that means 1,000 people also had the ability to blacklist, or
blacklist?
Blacklist the
Twitter has not updated their back end. It literally still says blacklist.
Any trending or search topic. That's a lot of people with that level of control. They also talked about the logging. There was some logging on who was doing what, but it wasn't great. So they didn't have a great audit trail for who might have done all those things. So Twitter, on one hand, controlling their employees, not good. Controlling the narrative, great.
Twitter takes down 7,000 accounts linked to QAnon. I
don't follow the QAnon thing. I don't really understand it.
I don't know. Engagement challenge? Yeah, I don't either.
I thought it was Trump, but I think it's sort of moved on from Trump.
This article makes it sound like it's just bots and accounts that would only retweet things that were likely to be disruptive or retweet like conspiracy theories.
Well, they claim it was started by the Russians. Now, they also point out there are some people running for office who are unapologetic QAnon people, and this is one of them. I think there were a couple more, and I have pictures of them. So that's interesting. There was that sheriff that we had last week. I don't know much about it. I don't have time for. I love a good conspiracy theory, but that one just doesn't appeal to me for whatever reason. It feels too manufactured.
So that's gonna make somebody in the comments really angry. I don't know.
Yeah. No need for an engagement challenge this episode. Facebook, they are constantly under fire from both sides because they're not doing enough or they're doing too much. They're censoring too much. They're not censoring, yada, yada, yada. And now we have another thing that I think this is going to be very bad for them when they get up in front of the lawmakers.
NBC News reports that Facebook ignored a racial bias research. Researchers say the company ignored their work and then stopped them from pursuing topics related to bias altogether. So there's a lot of reports this week really about Facebook and internal insanity that is happening. There's a growing sentiment, I think, among employees of Facebook that is like, hey, wait a minute, are we contributing to unrest and unhappiness among the population because we make it too easy for things like racial bias to continue on?
But the newspeak here, the doublethink, this was a crazy, if you read into it, because So it's racist, and we're talking about the algorithm here. So discrimination against white people is more accepted by the algorithm than discrimination against black people. They use the example of black people are scum and white people are trash. So it actually doesn't think the white people are trash is bad, but it thinks the black people are scum is bad. And that in itself is racist, which I guess is true. But then they want to go the other way, and then you get this is Orwell.
If we, the quote there, I fear that we've already angered the YouTube algorithm bots, but yeah, you can read it there on the screen. It's like, if we're treating everybody the same, what?
War is peace, freedom is slavery, equality is oppression? So it was hard to follow this, but I think it wasn't that they were like, oh God, we can't let this happen. I think they read that and they were like, I know, we don't, let's not get involved in this because there's no win. You can't win. You can never do enough.
Oh yeah, the Verge article. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what you were alluding to. And this is not the first time this has happened. Throughout the history of Facebook, when it sheds somebody, they badmouth it.
According to The Verge, former Facebook engineer says that the company has enshrined failure in its policies. Engineer Max Wang was with the company since 2011.
His choice of props for this video may have lessened the impact. I guess those are Pokemon.
Engagement challenge.
This goes back to the Trump thing, because they weren't willing to censor Trump when he said the looting, shooting thing. It just never ends. And remember, in Illinois, they had a law that said you can't use facial recognition without consent, and Facebook had the photo tagging thing, which was facial recognition. So now we know exactly how much that's going to cost them.
Facebook adds $100 million to landmark facial recognition settlement payout. Goodness gracious.
I think it was six something, right?
Yeah, $650 million. $500 million, a little bit more. That seems insane. So surely all the people that were affected by this are going to get quite a nice payday, and not the law offices, right?
$400 at most. If a lot of people sign up for it, more like $300. But hey, during the pandemic, extra $400, sign up, get your money.
It's Friday by now. I'm genuinely concerned that without something happening, so many people being unemployed, and it being the beginning of the month with rents due, it's just like, uh-oh.
Maybe the Facebook settlement will be the thing that saves Chicago.
Uh-oh.
Now, the Trump thing is... Facebook has a lot of problems, but I think that's kind of the lightning rod, right? And a lot of people, based on that, have kind of come up with this conspiracy theory. Maybe it's a QAnon theory. I don't know. That Zuckerberg and Trump have this sort of behind-the-scenes relationship. But he says no.
Axios reports that, yes, there is no secret deal. That's what the headline is here. There's no secret deal. And that seems crazy. And, don't do that.
He several times in the excerpts here, he goes back to, it's like, hey, remember the times I met with Obama? Remember Obama? I met with Obama. Which kind of, in this context, kind of has the feel of like, no, I have black friends. TikTok is, boy, the government hates TikTok. And I think they are worried. Now, they left Hong Kong, and they're like, no, really? No, we're not part of that. No.
Well, they left Hong Kong because the Chinese version of the app is the thing to use there now.
Yeah, but they spun it as... And so they're trying to do everything they can. Their latest appeal has to do with something that Trump campaigned on. So is he going to go against that?
TikTok plans to add 10,000 jobs in the U.S. as the Trump admin considers banning it. I thought the whole point of this, like, when Instagram was worth $1 billion, they only had 13 employees. Why do we need 10,000 jobs?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about LinkedIn. I would think that TikTok needs fewer people than LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, it's all automated. It's all the cloud services and Terraform configs and stuff.
Even if they hosted their own data warehouse, that's not 10,000 jobs.
Instagram was worth $1 billion when it was 13 people. Come on.
And this is every week it's just a new entity of government, but they're all going the same way.
Politico reports that the House has voted to ban TikTok on federal devices. National security concerns. National security song and dance.
You know what? They're supposed to be public servants. They don't need to be on TikTok on my dime. You know what? Take all the apps off their phone.
They can console themselves in their private sauna.
They get the dialer and GPS. Nothing else.
No web browser. Can't even web browse Twitter.
Yeah, while they're getting their... they could all get haircuts during the lockdown.
Because it's private.
Because they have a special stylist there in the building. This is the story that you alluded to earlier, and
this is the best story of the week.
It's fantastic. I gotta wonder. I always feel like one thing about the conspiracy theorists that I kind of agree with is when something like this happens, it's to pull our attention away from something else or to prepare us for something else. So I can't help but wonder what.
No longer in the shadows, the Pentagon's UFO unit will make some of their findings public. So this article talks mostly about the Navy video that we already covered in the past, where they're like, "Holy crap, what is this thing?" And it's just shows up as black on their infrared cameras. It's like it doesn't move according to the known laws of physics. But there's some juicy quotes in there from some senators. Harry Reid is in on this, and also Mark Rubio. And this article doesn't mention the Rubio quote, but it was we've seen these things over our military bases, and I hope that it's extraterrestrial, like space aliens, and not China, because it means that China or Russia or somebody has made an amazing breakthrough in technology, and we don't know. I
think they did mention that. And also the other quote was, I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was Reed. This was like, yes, I am very confident, based on what I'm privy to, that we have materials that were quote unquote not made of this earth. Now that could be fabricated in a Chinese space lab. That would still satisfy doesn't have to be aliens, but it's interesting either way.
Yeah.
The one thing about the lockdown is you don't get to go to the beach. A lot of people are very angry.
Don't you? I think that some people need to be included in on that.
Some people went to the beach and it caused some problems. But if you're in Texas, there's a whole other reason for not going to the beach.
There's so much poop along the Texas coast, swimming could make you sick. Oh, so they've got the Eastern Kentucky problem. It's not just poop, it's also slurry.
But we don't have an ocean.
Well, it's just the creeks and stuff. I was like, it's a hot summer day. I'm going to go down to the creek. You don't want to do that.
So they blame the aging sewage systems in Texas that are apparently just washing right out into the ocean.
I can think of a lot of things that our federal government could employ a lot of the people to do, like building new roads, and Flint, Michigan could use a new water system. I think pretty much everywhere could use a new water system that doesn't use lead pipes.
And they pointed out it was... the
oil surplus could go toward making a lot of PECs.
99% of days tested, it was above the critical limit. 32 out of 1,000 swimmers. I don't know if that means that those 32 they estimate would be like immunocompromised or something.
Don't go swimming in poop.
Those aren't great odds. What do you think the average number of beach visitors in a day is? How many thousand?
Especially like it is a much larger number than it should be, especially right now.
So that's a lot of fecal swimming. Unpleasant. I wonder how the sea life feels about that. The seals. Do they have seals in Texas?
Catfish really like it.
I don't think they live in the ocean.
Sea bass.
A lot of people, because of these dark times, are getting married remotely, which is weird because, like, what do you do after that?
Well, sometimes the couple's together, but everybody else is remote.
But that wouldn't be what this is.
No.
So there are rules in some places that say that a remote marriage ain't a marriage.
Zoom marriages don't count when applying for Canadian immigration. The Canadians seem to be worried about marriage fraud or forced marriages.
Yeah, they pointed out that in some cases, one person might not even have to be present.
Ew. Well, I mean, that is sort of dark times.
Yeah, that would suck if you just woke up like you didn't even know, and somebody was like, "Oh, by the way, you're married."
You know, at first I was kind of like, "Oh, that's really dumb," and then it was like, "Oh yeah, it is sort of, you know, the dark aspect of this is that should probably be a thing."
They're like, "Hey, here's some news. You're married," and it's like, "Oh, that's bad," and you're going to Ontario. I'm like, no. This was a great article because the quality of medical journals
is perhaps a bit suspect after this article.
Well, not just this article. We've done a lot of articles where, and there was the guy, I can't remember his name, but he did the Joe Rogan interview. You remember the gay dog nonsense article we did?
Oh yeah, that was just completely made up,
Completely fake.
but they got it in a journal,
and he got so many of those. It wasn't just that one. He infiltrated so many journals and then just revealed all at once. It was like, I just made this up. I just knew that it would be, you know, social justice garbage would get in your journal, so I just abused it. And that was very embarrassing. But even beyond that, just terrible quality. And one of them came out and someone actually read it, and it sparked this hilarious hashtag.
CNN reports that a medical journal has apologized after an article prompted health professionals to post images of themselves in bikinis. So they did an article where they searched for and found people's social media profile who were doctors, and were like, "Oh, this doctor is in a bikini, and this is, you know, they don't look very professional. This is not allowed." And it's like, well, there's dudes like that are also on there. Why didn't you call that out?
Well,
if you're gonna call that out?
He did this in solidarity.
Yeah. So it's just like, come on.
A lot of good-looking doctors on here.
Yeah, those are both doctors, and so, you know,
Gynecologists, in fact.
Yeah, so it's just, goodness me.
That's got to be weird if you're a couple and you're both gynecologists and you're just kind of like talking about your day. You know?
Or not talking about your day, as the case may be.
I think maybe that's the only way to play it, right?
Yeah.
There's like the old joke about the gynecologist is like, if I see one more of those today. California has some special rules about, what kind of business can open and what can't. And a lot of businesses might have been trying to skirt the rules by serving just a little bit of food. Because if you serve food, you can have people. But if you just serve booze, you can't. So they have nailed down further the rules about the food service.
It's official. Buffalo wings are no longer a meal in California. Bologna sandwiches, however, count as a meal.
Do they have to be fried bologna sandwiches?
Nope.
This is another situation where we need Krista, because Krista is notorious for ordering off of the appetizer menu as her meal and not finishing it.
Yeah.
She never finishes her redneck egg rolls. So they've got some, so they got the list here. I would agree with most of these.
Cheese sticks, fried calamari, chicken wings. What if you get like the sampler thing? Because I've done that. Side dishes such as bread and rolls, French fries, onion rings, reheated or refrigerated or frozen entrees, and desserts.
It's a good question. I bet that would not count because it's all of those things. Although the sampler is probably what, like 2,000 calories?
Yeah.
That's
it's a lot of food.
Yeah. The the virus is everywhere. It's in all countries. We have different amounts of, like leaders' reaction to it. Some are doing a really good job. Some are doing a really terrible job. Some are just straight up spreading disinformation.
We've experienced some of that here in the U.S.
But not quite to this level.
Oh, I think we have. Injecting disinfectants.
I guess that's pretty comparative.
Bengal BJP chief Dilip Ghosh says drink cow urine to fight the thing.
I bet it's Dilip.
Dilip. He doesn't actually say drink cow urine, but he wants you to take some sort of religious concoction, which involves dung and urine, I guess. I didn't really follow Engagement Challenge if you're familiar with what this concoction is.
There's the quote. I mean, it's...
We will have cow urine to stay healthy.
Ayurvedic medicine? I don't know what Ayurvedic medicine is to you.
No.
Sounds like traditional Chinese type deal.
Yeah. If you used to have a job at Tata and you got laid off because of the earlier story from the business section, and you see this, maybe you could fill us in because something ain't right here.
That's definitely one of the weird things about like the emerging market is because we talk about the education gap and the skill gap, you know, and that's just so much greater there. You have people living without electricity, and then you have people fabricating, CPUs, and they're living within blocks of each other. It's just a crazy world. Very diverse. After the Black Lives Matter riots, if you remember, there was a huge backlash against anything to do with law enforcement. Most hilariously, Paw Patrol. Although I think Paw Patrol might be coming back.
I don't know that really anything happened with it, and they've got a movie in the works.
But certain other, like the show Cops is gone, and the show Live PD. Did you ever watch Live PD? Do you know what they do? They had a control center with, like the bank of screens, and they had film crews following cops all over the country. And whenever something interesting would happen, they'd have a director be like, "Go there," and then you'd watch it. But it was all in real time.
Huh.
So it was a fascinating show. I say was a fascinating show.
A&E lost 49% of its viewers after dropping Live PD. Now, that's what the headline says, but if you read the article, and maybe I misread this here, it was 49% drop last year versus this year.
I don't remember seeing that part of it. Yeah, maybe. I think they were already on the way down, right?
Yeah. It's like June 11th to July 19th, A&E viewership was 498,000 people, which is 49% of whatever. So I don't know that we can attribute that to just dropping the one show.
Can you name another A&E show?
No, but I couldn't have named that one before this article.
I knew the show. I didn't know it was on A&E. Yeah, so it could just be that TV in general is dying. But this follows the whole get woke, go broke narrative. People love that. I admit I love that too. This one, I thought about cutting this one, but it does show that amongst the new wave of control, the infighting exists even there, and there is no you can't follow anybody because they'll just turn, and it's just ridiculous.
This Philadelphia news site reported that the Philly NAACP president shares an anti-Semitic meme with a misattributed neo-Nazi quote. Ooh, yeah.
I always fell for the Voltaire quote. It's a great quote.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that a neo-Nazi came up with it because now it's tainted forever.
It's still, I believe in the quote. The quote is good. Now, he claims, he was like, I didn't understand that was anti-Semitic. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of obvious. It breaks my heart that quote is not from Voltaire. How sad. Still good to live by.
But yeah, otherwise super anti-Semitic and not to be condoned.
And but at the same time, he wasn't allowed to criticize. You know who else you're not allowed to criticize? This sheriff.
Kalamazoo County Sheriff directs detectives to investigate message calling him fat. It was perhaps vaguely threatening and also calling him fat, but yeah.
Why? Why did they say this to the man? Because he was enforcing the social distancing stuff, and they didn't like that. The masks. But he had no right to. He dispatched detectives to go and talk to the guy. The guy claimed, I didn't post that. Somebody must have hacked my account, which I don't believe. He should have stood his ground. No crime. There is no crime there. You can call a sheriff fat all you want. You might get shot, but you're within your legal right to do so. The kind of business that can come back, like with the whole chicken wing thing, it's like Where's the line? What makes one okay and one not okay? In Berlin, they have some interesting rules.
The court has ruled that BDSM parlors can open as long as everyone wears a mask. Now, obviously, this would not be okay for brothels, which is the point of contention here, because the brothels had to shut down because you're going to have close contact, obviously, right?
But
well, not with this.
they also said elevated breathing, but isn't this basically a sexual act?
Yeah.
Also, do you think like the zip up GIMP mask, does that stop the virus?
Level 1 field trip to Berlin.
Is that a valid mask? Has anybody gone to Walmart in the GIMP mask?
I have seen that on peopleofwalmart.com.
But I mean, during the mask mandate.
I don't know. What about the GIMP mask with the built-in filter?
Well, they have to have some sort of. I guess if you added
like the gas mask filter. Let's get the screw-in filter on the side. I don't.
Maybe there's a business opportunity. Bondage gear with a HEPA filters. This is an example of we kind of crap on the commenters, especially for local news stations and how they're going away because they're so toxic. But in this case, totally the opposite.
Viewer spots Florida reporter Victoria Price's cancer growth. So there's just in this picture, just the way that the line is on her neck.
Is
they were
it
like,
this? I
yeah,
guess?
it was another woman that had similar cancer in her lymph node, and she was like, you need to go get checked out, and she did get checked out, and it turns out it was cancer. So a similar thing happened to Simone Yetch, the shitty robot girl. She was getting Brian the brain tumor, and somebody was like, something's wrong. You need to go get your thing checked out, and they were right.
Wait a minute, is that the same girl?
No, I think that's just a side by side, or is it? I don't know.
No, not these two. But look, that is a much better picture. There might be some photoshopping going on.
Well, it was cancer.
It was thyroid, and the thyroid apparently was just like pushed out a little bit, and the other woman was like, "Hey, I see that anyway." I don't know if I would go to the hospital based on that, but I'd be wrong. We're gonna have so many people in the comments now. It's like, I see this about you.
We have enough people that are like, "Is there an invisible wall between you?" And the answer is yes, but you can't see it.
Well, we're not. This is. There's no public access to this building.
No. I guess it's because I don't think you realize how few people we come into contact with.
This is it for the week for me. Whoever I see at the grocery store, maybe a drive-through once or twice a week, and this.
And it's hard to believe that 2020 is more than half over, and it feels like that's what it's been the entire year.
And the crazy thing about it to me is like, there's no end in sight for this.
No.
How much longer?
I mean, we're going to be way down the list for vaccines and stuff too. I mean, it's probably going to be.
Oh yeah.
It's probably going to be spring 2021 before they even get to us on the vaccines.
They're going to be going down the list. It's like, wait a minute, middle class white male? No.
Yeah.
You don't get it. You're expendable. I'm fine with that. This story, it's kind of a ridiculous one to add, but just kind of points out the insanity that we live in the modern day.
Deli Delicious sues franchisee for serving fresh bread. And I thought, there has to be more to it than that. No, that is literally exactly what happened. Deli Delicious, which is a franchise in California, decided that they needed to use frozen bread instead of fresh baked bread because they said their fresh baked bread bakery could keep up with the demands for franchising. But then the bakery that's doing the fresh baked bread daily said, what? That's crazy. We have a much higher bread baking capacity than they do, and we've never had trouble filling any orders, and we could even double in size. And so one franchisee was like, you know what? I'm going to continue to serve fresh bread because I think it's important.
But they're not allowed. I love this picture. This is like they went to a little bit of trouble to look at how to Photoshop an image. So they're like, well, we need to put a horizon in it here. But it's just like this terrible purple. And then they got, like obviously just a Photoshop font.
Deli litigious.
Deli litigious.
The article points out that the franchise agreement may not specify, so they may not have a legs to stand on here.
I think, but I guess from the franchise point of view, they want them to be, because the consistency is apparently a big thing. Like, that's the draw of McDonald's. You can go to a McDonald's anywhere in the country, and you know pretty much what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you might get like it's like, oh, I love these sandwiches, and you go somewhere else and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
these aren't that good. This is a hilarious story. Talk about ancient technology, although this goes back to the whole prison thing, where it's like, well, you're in your prison, you don't have access to technology. So what do? You got to depend on your buddies.
Yeah. Ogden, and according to 2KU TV, an Ogden man has been arrested for printing porn at Walmart for, quote unquote, the homies who were locked up. He has been charged with a felony. For printing porn at Walmart, which I think is quite excessive.
It was like intent to distribute because he admitted, and plus going into a lockup facility where it's banned, it's contraband. He should have. Pro-criminal tip: you have the right to remain silent.
I thought that you could mail them that kind of thing through the mail.
No, they read their mail. There is no. That's one of the big. If you watch the prison documentaries, and they'll interview them, and they're like, "So, like, rape is a real problem here, right?" He's like, "Yeah, rape is a real problem here," and they ban pornography. So maybe they want us to get raped. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be punishment, but still.
Yeah. Well, I charging that guy with a felony for that is excessive.
He was on probation too, so he's going right back in.
That's a mess.
Yeah.
Tax dollars, the people of Ogden are going to pay for that, and that is dumb.
Once again, talking about terrible photoshops. Zero effort here.
Listen, 2KU TV is on life support as it is.
Well, that's the other thing. Remember the story about how all these local news sites are just fake? I worry about that. When I put these, it's like, does 2KU TV even exist?
Was this made by some, farmer living in one of the rural provinces of India because it's a fake news site?
Oh, he's just doing shots of cow urine, banging out fake news sites all day long. Here's a situation where modern technology, you have to wonder, are they doing this to protect us? Or are they doing this for fun? Because this sounds like fun.
Police, according to CNN, police used drones to monitor nudity at a Minnesota beach. So there's a Minnesota beach that's well known for being secluded and really safe, and not really well known among the local populace. So it's not super crowded. A lot of people like to go nude there, and the police are using drones to patrol it to catch people sunbathing nude because they don't have anything else to do, I suppose.
Well, is that an overturned wheelchair?
No, I think it's a bicycle.
Oh, okay. That would be a dark scene at the beach, wouldn't it?
We realize that the only thing that brings you joy is to sunbathe topless, but that's not allowed. And I think that probably is actually allowed. I think it just needs to be challenged at the Supreme Court.
What about the fact that vitamin D is supposed to be the best thing for...
Well, you can get vitamin D without being topless necessarily.
But it's just extra. It's all the D. Maximum D.
The algorithm doesn't know what to make of that one.
And the final story, if we're going to go controversy, let's just go full controversy. This is another story, the whole idea of equality is oppression. I can't get my head around it. Does this make any sense to you?
No, I didn't understand this story at all. The headline is "To Make Orchestras More Diverse, End Blind Auditions." So the article, I don't understand how it works with the orchestra, and maybe somebody could tell us. I wish...
you put a screen up.
I wish...
Gooseling?
Yeah, Gooseling was here to explain this to us because of previous problems and previous underrepresentation, especially of women in orchestras, you literally have a screen up, and when you're auditioning for the orchestra, they don't see you. They only hear you play the instrument, and then based on that, they make a decision. And there's like 6 or 7% of women in the orchestra. And this is a rule that went into effect in like the 60s or 70s, I guess,
because there were so few black musicians.
Yeah, well, and so few women, and so few, because the idea of an orchestra, I guess, in the 1960s was stodgy old white people, and that was self-reinforcing because people would say, oh yeah, but now they just listen to the instrumentation and it's like, oh, this is how we should do this. And so this article is like, no, we need to take the screen down to look at people so that we can give disadvantaged people, like deliberately give disadvantaged people a chance and ignore it, because it literally says if you're proficient at playing an instrument, there's so little difference, nobody can really hear a difference anyway.
Which I don't believe.
Give the underprivileged people a chance, and it's like, oh.
That sounds like racism. Yeah, you couldn't be more fair.
When you can't see it, you're just judging it based on the sound of the instrument.
But they say that with everyone being equal, because in the meta everyone's not equal, then you go back to being unequal.
The one aspect of this that I kind of agree with is that some of these musicians may be inherently disadvantaged because of the system in which they, the instrument that they have, which can be fixed by the orchestra supplying the instrument, or well, at least fixed to an extent. I guess you couldn't practice with that instrument, but
there was an amazing quote in here. Now I can't find it. But yeah, basically the idea is some groups need to be given special treatment, and they can't be if you can't see them. Now here is my challenge. When are we going to get more white representation in the gangster rap community? Who do we got? We got Eminem. Maybe you count ICP. Who else?
This is not my wheelhouse.
We're not going to count Vanilla Ice. What about reggae? We got nobody. We got nobody. Yeah. It's shocking. It's shocking that. What are the rules? We don't know the rules. Now, you mentioned I doubt seriously there are a lot of clarinets in the high rises in Chicago. So sure. So early on, there might be a way to move more people in that direction. But they might go to a different musical career. Once again, gangster rap, mumble rap, different way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
No. You know who I get these kids to play clarinets? Dr. Dre, the I clarinet.
That would be an amazing Apple invention. It's like if you had a musical instrument that only they could hear through their ear pods, but otherwise was perfectly silent. That would be an incredible invention.
Oboe by Dre. That's the product we need. Comes in all kinds of colors.
There's a girl that I think it's the cello. I don't even know the instruments, but she plays the cello. But she did the Knight Rider theme on a cello, and it's 8 different instruments. Like she plays 8 different tracks and then just overlays them all on their self, and it's incredible. And she also did the theme to Airwolf and the A-Team and some other stuff like that. And I'm sure she's really good at classical music, but the TV show themes, she's got it nailed. She's got it down, and that's amazing.
Well, that's the fantastic thing they do on Westworld, is they take modern music and just do it as like a string quartet or something like that, or a piano. And it's so effective. I love it. It's like, I know that song. Like they did Something I Could Never Have. And like the really touching scene, I was moved.
Yeah.
Chris is hopefully back next week. We can hear about her exciting adventures. We will be sure to cover whether the dog went, what she did with her waist while she was on her trip. What was the other question we had? I don't remember what the other question we had was.
Do they have showers and places to poop?
Pumpkins. We'll get an update on the pumpkins.
Now, she posted a picture on Twitter of a very, very small ear of corn. It's like the ears of corn that are in the Chinese buffet.
Which aren't really corn, right?
Yeah.
And hey, it'll be another week, and maybe society will have fallen by then. No unemployment and evictions.
It'll be the first episode of August. Be sure to check out our Linode tutorials. We'll see you.